All right, fantastic. Nice crowd today. Thanks everybody for coming by. Um, uh, Kevin McNicholas, school social worker in Gillespie here, doing our mental health first responders meeting in this beautiful month of May. So nice to see everybody here. I'm excited to welcome Becky Shipley, excuse me, yes, Becky Shipley today. And we also are looking forward to hopefully having Megan Tyler on with us lately. Becky is with our community health department, the county health department in Jersey County. So, Becky, excited to join you. I got a very nice invite and we had a lunch meeting earlier in the year, and Becky's got a ton of great info for us. And so I was excited to be a part and excited, Becky, to welcome you to our meeting today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being
Absolutely.
here. Okay, so I hit the share. What am I doing wrong? I'm having a Monday all over again.
Is it saying when you hit share, is it giving you entire screen? It should be highlighted in blue.
Yes,
Okay.
it asks me if I want to share screen 1 or screen 2.
Oh, good question.
And
Um,
I know I want to share screen 1. Advanced sharing awesome. All participants.
it's not working. If you want to email me your slides, I can try to share mine.
I'm not sure the links will work if I send it because I used
Oh,
Canva.
gotcha. Oh, okay.
Is it letting you click on screen 1?
It is. And you guys can't see anything.
Mm-mm.
I could, so if I hit share, and it says one participant can share at a time,
Mhm.
and that would be me. Um,
Becky, let me try making you the host. I wonder if it's a co-host situation.
it says I am the host now.
Okay, let's see if try to share again and see if that works.
Share. Wonder if I move it to, doesn't, oh, I see down here. I think I figured it out. Screens, documents, advanced, entire screen, 1, share sound. Okay. There.
There we go. Perfect.
I'm a nurse, I'm not tech. So you guys are seeing some leaves and stuff right now?
Yep.
Okay. Now are you seeing a presentation?
Yep. You got it.
Okay, look at me.
Becky, you got this. I always say I talk for a living. Computers are not my friend, so
Okay, I
you're
think
doing
I've
better
got
than I
this.
am.
I'm going to move my camera so I don't look like I'm staring off in space. Okay, thank you all for having me. So the health department got a grant this for FY25 to do education on adverse childhood experiences. So we've put together this presentation, and we can do this. We're lucky to get the grant extended for another year, so we can do this for other groups, providers. We can do it for parents. Any kind of group, if anyone is interested in some of the information. There will be a toolkit on our website that people can use too. So first, if you wouldn't mind, I'm required to do like a pre and post knowledge check for the grant. So if you wouldn't mind snapping a pic of the QR code and doing that real quick. You guys probably are, I'm preaching to the choir on most of this, but you're gonna probably know most of it. It won't take you long. I just admitted a couple other people, Kevin. Whoops. Sorry.
Thank
So, okay. So if you had a chance to fill it out, fine. If not, it's fine with that too. So I don't know if you're aware of ACEs or not. You probably, most of you are. So ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences, and it grew out of the original ACE study was conducted at Kaiser Permanente from 1995 to 1997 with 2 waves of data collection on over 17,000 HMO members from Southern California. So that's where these questions came from. And if you would like to find your ACEs score, there's a QR code that takes you to a website that you can do it yourself, or you can run through the questions here on the screen. It's all about what happened in the first 18 years of your life. Did a parent or other child in the household often or very often swear at you, insult you, put you down, humiliate you, act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt? Did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often push, grab, slap, or throw something at you? Ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured? Did an adult or a person at least 5 years older than you touch or fondle you, touch their body, and have you touch their body, attempt or actually have oral, anal, or vaginal intercourse? Did you often or very often feel that no one in your family loved you? Did family not look out for each other? Did you often or very often feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes? Were parents too drunk or high to take care of you, or did not take you to the doctor? Were your parents ever separated or divorced? Some questions about your mother or stepfather, or stepmother, I'm sorry. Did you live with anyone who was a problem drinker? Was a household member depressed or mentally ill? Did a household member go to prison? So you have total possible 10 for your ACE score. So what are ACEs? I'm hoping the video works. I clicked share my sound. Can you guys hear something?
Adverse childhood experiences, called ACEs, are stressful or traumatic experiences that occur in childhood, like violence, abuse, and growing up in a family with substance use or mental health problems. When a caring adult or supportive environment doesn't soften those adverse experiences, or when they are ongoing or overwhelming, they can lead to a prolonged activation of our stress response called toxic stress. Think of toxic stress like this. Our bodies were designed to escape predators quickly. Imagine you're walking through the woods and you see a bear. Your brain signals your body to release stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart begins to pound and your body prepares you to either fight or run from the bear. And that's useful if you're in the forest and there's a bear. The problem is when children face threats to their physical and emotional safety, and this system is activated over and over and over again. What was meant to protect you begins to do the opposite and becomes damaging to your health, creating long-lasting wear on your body and brain. Children are especially vulnerable to the effects of ACEs and toxic stress because their brains and bodies are still developing. The toxic stress from ACEs and other adversities such as poverty, racism, discrimination, and natural disasters can disrupt the normal functioning of vital bodily systems. Simply put, toxic stress can result in long-term mental and physical health conditions. Not only that, but the effects of ACEs can be passed from parent to child for generations through the biological changes and behaviors associated with ACEs and toxic stress. A person with 4 or more ACEs is twice as likely to suffer from heart disease, cancer, and stroke, 4 times as likely to develop depression, and 12 times as likely to attempt suicide. The good news is that safe, stable relationships and environments and other interventions such as physical and mental health support can reduce the risk of ACEs leading to toxic stress and stress-related health conditions. To learn more, visit www.osg.ca.gov.
Or the video doesn't keep playing. Of course it will. There we go. Okay, so ACEs are traumatic events or periods of intense sustained stress in a child or adolescent's life. They are very common. Many of us have at least one. At least 10% of children have 3 or more. They can happen to anyone, and they may have lasting effects on their behavior and health. So exposure to ACEs can cause lasting harm. That's why they matter. Children have both good and bad experiences, and both can affect their health. The negative experiences can have long-term effects on their brains and bodies. Stress from ACEs is different from the everyday stresses that all children experience. And they can lead to health problems such as asthma, diabetes, and heart disease, and can also affect behavior, learning, and mental health. The higher number of ACEs can mean a higher risk of health problems. So raising awareness about ACEs is important because it can help change how we all think about what causes them and how we can prevent them, can shift the focus from an individual responsibility to community solutions, can decrease the stigma around seeking help with parenting challenges, substance use, depression, or suicidal thoughts, and promote safe, stable, nurturing relationships and environments where children live, learn, and play. And since ACEs are linked to chronic health problems, mental illness, and substance misuse in adulthood, preventing ACEs improves the health of future adults and helps children and adults thrive. It actually really is good for our communities as a whole, too. Preventing ACEs potentially lowers the risks for these conditions, reduces risky behaviors like smoking and heavy drinking, improves education and job potential, and it stops the effects of the ACEs from being passed on from one generation to the next. Understanding adverse childhood experiences. There's serious toxic traumas resulting in toxic stress that can harm the child's brain, and they may prevent them from learning, from playing in a healthy way, and can result in long-term health problems. So around here on this slide are some things that how they affect children, which it can increase their hormones, which affects the body's ability to fight infections. It really just puts them in almost that fight or flight kind of constantly, increases difficulty in making friendships and maintaining relationships, leads to negative ways of coping like violence, overeating, or abusing other alcohol and drugs. I mean, really, they're just in survival mode. They can't hear, they can't respond. They're just really trying to be safe. So they're living with the increased heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, and muscle tension, something that can be a really small thing to one child and be like a huge, trauma. Just one small thing that could happen in a classroom could really put a child with a lot of ACEs into a panic or, that self-protection mode. And here's a list of things that ACEs can include. So it's anything from emotional, physical, sexual abuse or neglect, homelessness, medical trauma. So they could be very well taken care of, but have gone through a medical trauma, and that still can be an adverse childhood experience. Domestic violence, substance use, and mental illness in the household, parental separation, parental abandonment or loss, incarcerated household member, and violence in the community. Bullying can be by another child or an adult. Witnessing violence outside the home, witnessing a brother or sister being abused, racism, sexism, any form of discrimination, and natural disasters and more, and then involvement in the child welfare system. Even if they're pulled out for a good reason, that's still traumatic to be pulled out of your home. And exposure can increase the risk of, a variety of things from adolescent pregnancy to asthma, depression, heart disease, suicide, smoking, intimate partner violence. So the importance of preventing these ACEs, we can do positive childhood experiences and protective factors. So they can help offset the effects of the ACEs. They help build resiliency and promote healing, recovery, and healthy development.
Neighborhood. I grew up in this building. This is a great community now, but it's had its share of problems. When I was a kid, our community had high unemployment, a lack of resources for families, and lots of kids hanging out with no adult supervision. You might have heard about adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. ACEs are traumatic events in childhood, like abuse and neglect, that can increase risk for future problems. But they don't have to. The good news is that ACEs and their consequences can be prevented. Take me, for example. I was at risk for ACEs, and despite all the things that put me at risk, some pretty incredible people helped make sure that I wouldn't become another statistic. Come on, I'll show you around. That's Jackson. He's a cool kid. His dad left when he was 2, and his mom works 2 jobs. I hang out with him every Thursday night and help him with his homework. Sometimes we grab ice cream. It's fun. Plus, he has another adult role model to learn from and trust. That's Mr. Martino. When I was a kid, he let me help him at the store sometimes after school when my parents were working late. He did that for a bunch of us. My dad actually found his job as a mechanic because of Mr. Martino. This helped our family in so many ways. Not only did my dad have a steady paycheck, which eased his stress about paying rent and buying necessities like food and clothes, but he was also a lot nicer to me, my brother, and my mom once he started working a job that made him feel good about himself. When communities come together, they can do so much to prevent ACEs. Mr. Martino and other local business owners put together a series of career workshops to help people like my dad find work. My mom also got a job with a company that allowed her to work from home and spend more time with me and my brother. Mariana has just gotten out of a class about handling challenges of single parenting. The clinic offers free childcare so Mariana's daughter, Ella, can play while Mariana's in class. The class helps parents like Mariana develop positive parenting skills, not just for babies and toddlers, but for teenagers too. This is another way our community has come together to give families the resources they need, and just one more way to prevent ACEs. This was my school, Riverside Middle, right in the heart of town. These kids are here for a sponsored summer camp. This community-supported program helps families with affordable, quality childcare and helps kids get tutoring and learn life skills. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of time at this school all year long. There was one counselor, Miss Greer, who I remember more than anyone. She was a really good listener. Miss Greer helped me and my brother get involved in after-school activities like baseball and soccer. Our coaches were super nice and were mentors to us. Staying after school for practice kept us and a lot of other kids out of trouble. When schools help take responsibility for preventing ACEs, everybody wins. My life could have gone in a completely different direction. Studies show that ACEs can have long-term negative effects on kids' health and well-being that may last into adulthood and even continue in future generations. But by people and groups taking action, ACEs can be prevented. In fact, there are 5 known strategies that help stop ACEs before they even start. You can implement them in your own community, just like we did. How? By strengthening economic support for families, by changing social norms to support parents in positive parenting, by providing quality care and education early in life, by enhancing parenting skills to promote healthy child development, and by intervening to lessen harms and prevent future risk. So, now you know my story, and you've seen the prevention strategies in my community that helped me beat the odds. I had healthy relationships with my family and friends. I learned how to take care of myself and make good choices. And today, I'm a mentor to other kids who need some extra help so they don't become an ACEs statistic. Safe, stable, and nurturing relationships and environments are essential to prevent child abuse and neglect and to assure that all kids reach their full potential. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Banana split? You got it.
Okay. So ACEs are not destiny. We really want to help these children build resilience, and that's the ability to cope and recover from the stressful, difficult, or traumatic childhood events and still maintain a healthy life even when facing the significant challenges. It allows them to overcome the negative impacts of ACEs. So resilience is built by providing children with safe housing, nutritious food, appropriate clothing, and access to health care and good education. Children are generally adaptable and resilient. Then their brains develop by making connections. The more often a positive experience is repeated, the stronger the connections become, creating an opportunity for healing. A strong positive relationship with one caring adult can provide safety and protection, buffer against toxic stress, and build resistance in children and teens. So positive childhood experiences help build the child's sense of belonging. I have some list of some positive childhood experiences here: nurturing and supportive relationships, equitable environments, supportive social connections, positive family relationships, positive adult influences outside of the family, and being rewarded in community relationships and engagement with others. Protective factors mitigate or offset the effects of ACEs, and they include the child's social emotional competence, which is supported by quality primary relationships, friendships, helping with problem-solving skills, assisting with skills related to self-control, helping them practice sharing, cooperation and taking turns, helping parents recognize their child's feelings. And the parent's knowledge of parenting and child development is a protective factor too. And that can be promoted by providing basic information about how children typically develop, assisting parents with information on dealing with developmental challenges, and providing alternative methods for appropriately responding to their children. Also, concrete supports for parents in time of need. So we want to assist them with their basic needs, help them know where to go for help, and then follow through with these families to help them address their issues. And then also building social connections and parental nurturing and attachment. I want to help parents be in tune with each other, the parent and child. They can read each other, and the parents can respond appropriately and consistently to the child's needs. So there is hope. The childhood trauma isn't just something they get over, but the effects of ACEs can be lessened or prevented. Studies show that the presence of just one positive adult in a child's life can buffer against toxic stress and reduce the effects of ACEs. So healthy ways to fight ACEs. There's one more video. And she's wonderful. Dr. Nadine.
Watch the
Harris.
latest shows all in
First we
one
gotta
place
add-
and get up to 6 accounts per household.
Okay, there we go. She's terrific. If you've not heard of her. There we go.
The term, the toxic stress response, actually refers to the prolonged activation of our body's stress response, the release of all those stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol and all of those things that go along with our stress response. And then also the ways in which that affects our bodies. Children are especially vulnerable to this repeated activation of the stress response because their brains and bodies are just developing. So high doses of adversity in children actually changes the way their brains develop. It changes the way their hormonal systems develop, their immune system develops, and even the way their DNA is read and transcribed. And those long-term changes are what we refer to as the toxic stress response. When we understand what happens in our bodies with the toxic stress response, and we understand that it's that prolonged activation of our stress response, then step one is really understanding what are the things that help to regulate our stress response. And immediately at that point, we begin decreasing the harm that happened as a result of our past experiences. So things like mindfulness, right? Meditation, spending time in nature, mental health interventions, regular exercise, nutritional strategies, and my favorite, healthy relationships. All of these things are really scientifically demonstrated to help to regulate the biological stress response, and they improve our outcomes for those of us who have experienced ACEs. These nurturing relationships, they feel good, which is good, of course, but they literally change our biology. When we have safe, stable, and nurturing relationships in our lives, it improves our neurologic functioning, it improves our hormonal regulation, it improves our immune functioning, and these social supports are critical part of healing. If we all understand our role in being a source of buffering care to a young person in need, that is truly transformative. ACEs are not destiny. Even if someone has experienced significant ACEs, it doesn't mean that they are absolutely going to have these negative outcomes. Recognizing our ACEs requires us to recognize our vulnerability. And that can be really scary. But it also is the place where we get a chance to ask for what we need. I deeply believe that we can cut ACEs and toxic stress by half in one generation.
So some ways we can help children to fight ACEs and help children manage toxic stress is becoming trauma informed. Instead of asking what's wrong with you, it's better to ask what happened, what they need to succeed. We really want to create a safe space where the child can ask for help without fear of being punished or not being believed. Be understanding and supportive. And be a buffer. We can be a buffer like a shield. A positive, caring relationship with an adult can help a child cope with these negative experiences. And be a good listener for the children, especially those with ACEs. They need to feel as if they're really being heard. It helps them feel safe and valued. Prioritize their physical and emotional well-being. We want to celebrate children and provide comfort. Often they need help to manage their emotions and to calm themselves. ACEs are common. About almost 3 out of 5 adults report a history of at least one, and nearly 1 in 6 report 4 or more. They can affect anyone, anywhere. Children experiencing adverse situations and adults who experience adversity when they were children come from all walks of life. They are not confined to any particular race, religion, socioeconomic background, or nationality, and any child can experience the sustained toxic stress associated with untreated trauma and suffer negative and mental and physical health effects. So here's some risks for perpetration of ACEs. So we think about the effects of the child, but how can we, what are the risks of a parent perpetrating or a caregiver perpetrating the ACEs? From a lack of knowledge of positive parenting techniques, lack of understanding of child development, their personal history of ACEs, and then substance use, parental factors such as young age, lower education, lower income, being a single parent, and responsibility for a large number of children, and child factors including young age and children with special needs. Also, non-biological transient caregivers in the house, which unfortunately we do see a lot, and then the caregiver's thoughts and emotions that lead to abusive or neglectful behaviors, and parents' hyperreactivity to the child's behavior, such as difficulty communicating. There's others, including negative perceptions of the child, their limit problem-solving skills or social skills, caregiver stress, poor parent-child relationship, family disorganization, social isolation, community violence, neighborhood disadvantages, and then societal factors. So how can parents who have their own ACEs, how can that affect them? It can cause excuse me, sorry, I got tongue-tied. So it affects the body's stress response. When you feel threatened, your body's stress response kicks in to help you handle the situation. It's known as a fight or flight response. Parents may feel difficulty calming down, a quicker than normal temper and feelings of impatience, difficulty thinking logically, and limited ability to read others, and difficulty modeling good skills and behavior for the children. So what can you do? You can learn about what's age appropriate for children, develop healthy habits for stress management, relationships with other supportive adults, making time to relax, take care of yourself, a fulfilling hobby, mindfulness practices can help. And some people find it helpful to seek a mental health professional for their own exposure to ACEs and trauma. So we as communities, we can do things to help these children and these families, strengthen economic supports for families, promote social norms that protect against violence and adversity, ensure a strong start for children, teach parenting skills, connect youth to caring adults, intervene to lessen immediate long-term harm, promote resiliency and build healthy relationships, change from blaming and reacting to preventing and decreasing stigma, and provide essential wraparound supports to whole families, including mental health, parental engagement, coordination of care. think some of these things are going to be more important than ever with some of the changes that might be coming to programs we have. So, okay. So this link, you can use a QR code if you want. You won't see anything. It'll just say JCHD ACEs Toolkit in progress. But it will have some information on there. I have flyers that we've made and different pagers that go over, have all the different pieces from the presentation. They will be on there. If you want to access them, I can give you copies. It's still a little bit in a work in progress. Hope to have everything up by the end of May, first part of June. Part of this grant was also addressing public information on community resources. So if we want to help these families, they need to know where to go for resources. And that all goes around the social determinants of health. I'm sure you all are aware of what the social determinants of health are. Let's see. So we developed these community resource cards, which are these. We've had them out there for a while. I know Rita and the hospital were very helpful in helping me get this started, and then we've been able to continue it through this grant. So we have, I think I have at least 500 more of these cards. So on the front is a QR code, and then the back talks a little bit about our grant. And this is what the webpage looks like. Actually, if you go to it now, where it says community resources at the top, I think above that or next to it, it says ACEs Toolkit. So that you will be able to access it there too. And then our page has anything from child to veterans. I mean, just anything that we can think of is on there. And if you happen to go on there and see something's wrong or something's missing, you can feel free to email me and I will update it. Then we also developed these resource roadmaps, and each one is like a one-pager. So if you've got someone who's like new to the community or just really struggling to get back on their feet, there's one about food, medical, housing, household goods. Then there's a children's one that's a little more for what you would specifically need for a child, anywhere from WIC and childcare down to substance use, public schools in Jersey County. Crisis service roadmaps. So if you got a family in crisis, different things that are on there. And then the last one is mental health and substance use resources roadmap. And then I do also want to, I'm not sure if you all are aware of Illinois Doc Assist. It's a little more focused on clinicians, physicians, nurse practitioners, things like that. But anyone can call or go to this website and ask questions. If you've got a family that you're really struggling with getting some help and you just don't know where else to go, this is another resource to contact. It's generally helping primary care clinicians address mental health and substance use, especially for youth and perinatal women. But they've said that if you just don't know where else to go, you can call them and they can also help direct. So it's just another resource I want to make sure people know about. So if you wouldn't mind, one more time, doing the QR code and doing a little post knowledge check, I and my grant greatly appreciate it. And while you're doing that, I'll just go ahead and pop up my references, the sources I used for it. And then this was the funding. It was Illinois Department of Public Health, Office of Women's Health and Family Services, Maternal Child Health ACEs grant. And we were lucky enough to get it extended through FY26. So we can put on this presentation and we'd have more, money for materials and things like that. I'd be happy to do by Zoom, come in person, I have it tailored just a little different if I was presenting more to those like parents, things like that. And there's my contact information. If I can help anyone, or if there's something you saw, you guys are my first presentation. So if there's something you saw either glaringly wrong or omitted, I also take constructive criticism. I will not be offended. So I appreciate you letting me come. And I think I will stop sharing. I think.
Becky, thanks so much for being with us this morning. We'll open it up to questions if anybody has any.
Becky, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I participated in some ACEs stuff. We watched the resiliency movie, and then it kind of brought it back to the forefront for me, these ACEs and how dramatically they affect people throughout their lives. I mean, so many things out there. And I shortly after that, I was in with a school um, principal and a superintendent, and I said, "Do you guys screen for ACEs?" And they don't. And part of the reason they don't is they'll let like social workers do it, but they feel like it's too clinical for them. Um, I mean, that movie is what, nine? No, yeah, 9 years old now or something, 9 or 10 years old, and these studies are
Yeah, probably.
even older.
Yeah,
And
95.
I mean, there's data out there that proves this is what happens. And there's been more and more studies and all this information, and it makes sense too if you just, I mean, if you just think about it. I mean, any educator, anybody who deals with kids all day long, they see these ACEs things and they think about it and they go, yeah, that makes sense totally. That affects this, that does this, that type of thing. How can we how can we keep spreading the word, and how do we get this these ACEs evaluations and these things to be, I guess, more commonplace? Do you have any ideas on that?
I mean, I think that's part of the goal of this MCH ACES grant that we have, is just to start getting that out there. And so hopefully over the next year, that'll be some of my job, even just making people aware. Because I mean, I've been, as I guess maybe as a nurse, I've been aware of the ACEs for a long time. I know a lot of you in mental health have too, but I don't think other clinicians, I'd love to get into the doctor's offices and things like that, and do the presentation and get them to do that with patients. As strapped as they are for time, I don't see it happening, but one can hope at least just making them aware of what it is. But no, I think you're right, spot on. I don't know the answer to that.
Becky, I'm wondering if birth to five if we
Mhm.
can help with that. We can set up community meetings. We can do them via Zoom and just advertise them, because that's kind of part of our role too, is to bring partners together. But like here a while back, we did one with Brighter Connections out of Carrollton, and it was like an evening meeting presentation that we just opened up to the public. And so we can grab a hold of that and set up a couple of virtual presentations. And
Yeah.
I can also, when I'm like at interagency meetings or even at partner meetings, kind of spread the word. Do you have any like collateral assets, like brochures or anything on it that you're
Yes.
giving out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
have some brochures just about the basics of ACEs,
that's
and then it would
perfect.
take you to the toolkit, and then I got some more in-depth like flyers and stuff in the online toolkit and that we can give out.
Okay.
And I am doing, so you guys all know how grants work. You always have to do like
Mhm.
the minimum to, get your money and all that. So I have 3 more presentations with different groups. Well, 2. I'm doing CASA of Jersey and Greene counties the next couple weeks, because I think that's a primary
Mhm.
spot to hit. And I am doing one community presentation open to anybody, providers, public, whatever, next Friday, June 23rd. It's at noon at the JCH East Annex, and I've got a little bit of response so far, but I'm really happy that we were able to get it extended for another year, because I think for the next year, it took me about a year to really develop everything. And now for the next year, I can get out there and try to do the presentations and that kind of thing. So
If
just
you
trying to
can
make those connections.
email me a PDF of your brochures, or if you have it, or I can pick some up, I'll add them to our packets as we go around to elected officials as well, and to our school boards, places like that, as we're visiting, doing
Yeah.
those meetings.
Yeah, I'll email them to you. And the educational ones are pretty in depth, and then the flyers more over broad.
That's
If you want it in a different format, I can do something like that too. You just let me know.
Fantastic. Becky, as you and Chaz and Kevin were just chatting, I was just thinking, I wonder if for the amount of time that we all spend in the doctor's waiting room, the dentist's waiting room, and all of that, if we had some of this info there, obviously with the agreement of the respective doctors, dentists, etc. If this stuff was out there in waiting rooms, people would be looking at it.
Yeah, I
Because
think
then,
even just like the basic flyer, the little, you know, because it's, I mean, it's pretty basic, but it hits the, you know, the basic points, makes people more aware of what ACEs are and how they affect children.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
We can
I
help
think
with
also-
that
think.
as well. We are putting out all kinds of like resource hubs in the libraries, visiting doctors' offices, rural clinics. And we are starting a campaign where we go out and we're switching them out every month, like all the different things that all the different partners that we are connecting with. So yeah, we can definitely add that to our resources that we're sharing.
That's awesome. Yeah, any way to help get the word out. I think it's very important to make people aware. So yeah, if anyone, be happy to come present online, do anything I can. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
thank you,
Becky.
Becky. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, I have one more
Um,
question really quick.
oh,
Where
yes,
where
ma'am.
can I find that those single page road maps? I didn't see them on the Jersey County.
So they
Website.
will be in the ACEs toolkit.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think I am a little technically challenged. And so I am in the process trying to figure out how to make it on there where it's a PDF and you can access it, all that. So my goal is, I've set it by the end of the month, first part of June, that you can get it on there. And
Fantastic.
I can send out like an email to Kevin. He can let everyone know when it's on there too.
Okay, perfect. I'm so
Okay.
excited for those.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Absolutely. And at the time that we had met earlier this year, and I got the sneak preview of today's presentation, which Becky, absolutely fantastic, and thank you. Kind of got me thinking, and my wife Laura and I were talking about this. Maybe looking at one of our future directions as a network is kind of getting into more parent information and engagement. Because we have a ton of professional development for us, but thinking about kind of what the next step of that is to bring it to the community. Obviously, I mean, realizing schools, health departments, I feel like churches and libraries, for the large part, or kind of our affiliates, are so much the foundation of our community, and our community organizations. But a lot of our smaller towns don't have the resources that our bigger towns do, or certainly aren't able to connect to the resources for whatever reason. From our community today, I'm just interested to hear and kind of get some thoughts on that, some strategies for parent information and engagement, how to access parents, because clearly, I mean, every time we have an event at school, just like parent teacher conferences, we don't have the parents of the students who we really need to talk to. Kevin's smiling at me all these years, right? We don't get the people who we want to show. I mean, to a community event, you know, sometimes you'll get the folks, but I just was interested in, with all the folks that we have together today, some thoughts on parent information and engagement. Where do we access people, and what are we looking to put out there for them? Because I think if we can inform our providers better, then we can get some of this stuff out to parents and hopefully get them the resources. Kevin, what you were just talking about, fantastic as well. Any thoughts on that?
I have thoughts, but I would, if somebody else wants to speak, I do not want to hog up all the time.
I see we have Tiffany Sims on here too. I'm excited to see if she's got some input on this because she's amazing. But I know within our ROE team, our kind of most isolated families, we have a truancy and regular attendance program. We have to physically meet those parents where they are. So our staff are going to their door because they're not coming to community events. They're not coming to the school. We are not able to reach these families, kind of like you were saying. And so our team here at the ROE, the school districts help identify these most at-need students or at-risk students for school attendance, at least. And then we're sending staff not only through like mail correspondence, but to to their door. And if Tiffany kind of wants to speak on that, I'll let her take that over. But that's the first thing that popped in my mind is they're not coming to us. So we have to go to them.
Great point, Savannah. Can you guys hear me? Can you? Okay. Because sometimes when I try to talk on this thing, it doesn't work too well. So we are going to the doorsteps. We do home visits, and sometimes that's the only way to get to a parent. You know, and I actually, phone calls don't always get them to the school, but going there and actually setting up a meeting with the school also helps. And we do start with attendance. We often find that there's deeper issues, and the majority of our students that we work with do definitely have a high ACE score, even without taking the test. You can just, you know, you get to know the family and you can see they have a high ACE score. But Kevin, I don't have the answer to your question, but I've thought about this a lot, and some different things that I'm thinking to reach, because I also want to, you know, educate parents on ACEs, but you have a parent meeting on ACEs, they're probably not going to show up. But if you have maybe set up a community group for stress management for parents, because they're not going to admit that they're physically or mentally abusive, but they might admit that they have stress. And so maybe some stress management groups offering something like that, going to they're calling them specifically saying, hey, you know, we have this group coming up. I don't know. That's just a thought, like to maybe take a different, like stress relief, mindfulness, stress management for parents. But within that, you could teach, you know, add, you know, ACEs and parenting skills and techniques. That's just a thought that comes to my mind for a rural community. I don't know.
That is awesome. We had talked too about potentially adding some extra stuff to like our beginning of the year school registration, our meet the teacher nights or conferences or something like that. Again, we're not getting everybody, and people can do a lot of stuff online, and maybe potentially having some of that we send out through our schools, through like our information system. Or Skyward is our what we use for our school info system. We can send some of this stuff out to parents, whether in the form of videos or some of that too. Because that's, but I do like that community group, and then kind of using stress management as a workaround rather than, you know, help with parenting or help with, you know, trauma or whatever. Because I know some people get kind of averse to some of those buzzwords, hearing trauma or social emotional learning or things like that. But who doesn't want some help with stress management? I'd be the first person in the door. I'd love that. And Kevin, did you have something that, or some thoughts that you wanted to add, please?
I do have a couple. First of all, being a former administrator at the high school level, I learned that it's not that parents don't want to be involved. They often, number one, don't know how to be involved, especially if their kids are teenagers. Because when they're elementary, it's a little bit easier because, oh, we have the PTO, we're involved with taking cookies, you know, things like that. But when it comes to junior high, high school, those kids are becoming more independent. They don't want their parents around, especially if they do have high ACEs because of family things, and they really don't want their parents. Or some reasons is sometimes the parents may not have had a good experience in the school, like when they went to school, and so they might associate that experience as they walk through the door. Tiffany, I love your idea. Something to kind of take a little bit more out of the box is maybe host those at the local library, a local coffee shop, a local restaurant, something like that, where they're maybe not having to walk through the door of a school building, because more than likely they probably had some type of bad experience. Meeting them at a laundromat is, you know, are they there at the laundromat? Can we have a coffee and chat at the laundromat? Can we, so those are just some things that I think of just from a prior experience. We at Birth to 5, we created in collaboration with the ROE a pocket resource that list. We have one for each of our counties: Calhoun, Greene, and Jersey, Macoupin. and it has like the crisis hotlines, the non-emergency numbers, childcare resources, adult services, so, you know, things like that. And I think we're going to probably try to make them into magnets. Getting out at events is a big thing. I mean, if you're able to get to any type of event that's in your community, whether you build like I think I'm part of the Ross Council in Macomb, Montgomery, as well as Green, and so people don't know us if we're not out. And probably one of the biggest things that we target is grandparents raising grandchildren. A lot of times these teenagers are being raised by their grandparents. And grandparents are like, I don't have the time or energy. So you really, like Savannah said and Tiffany said, it's hard to engage them, because that's what our job is too, is to engage parents. And we often talk about how can we engage them. We offer what we call parent cafes, where we have a series of cards, and it's just like a discussion topic, just like what you said, Tiffany. We offer them virtually and in person, and it's a safe, I don't want to say safe, it's a brave space, where, you know, we hold that space for parents. But I will say it's difficult because, like I said, parents at that level don't really know how to engage or how much they should engage at those teen levels. So I agree. It's very difficult. Just like Becky, what you're doing with ACES and just putting those in places where those parents might be. Walmart, you know, can you hang it up on the board at Walmart? I don't know. I have a lot to say on ACES. It's probably one of my loves to talk about, especially, I mean, I know I work in early childhood, but especially at the teen level is where you see some pretty not so good effects. We do have a person that sits on our council that does Jersey probation, and she works with teens and their parents. I don't know, you know, how do you pull, but that our part of our job is pulling all these partners together to work towards a common cause. And so maybe that's something we look at doing.
Well, and we definitely want to be one of those partners too, because that's, again, all of the everything that we arm our providers with, we're able to then get that out to the parents. And I think it's the parents who are trusting us, whether we work at the health department or the ROE or in an agency or something like that, we're going to be firsthand. And Kevin, what you said about parents not having a good relationship with the school, didn't have a good experience, that is spot on. And I feel like every parent I call, you know, I get the, well, he's just like me. I didn't do good at school, or I didn't like school, or anything like that. I mean, aces breed more aces, right? I mean, it's, you know, parents bring kids into the world who have had some of those same traumas, and people are not very aware as to how to sidestep that and look for something different.
And just like walking to the door about the anxiety they would have, you know, that may just create anxiety, and they're like, no, I can't do it. So.
Yeah, a lot of avoidance comes too.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. That gives me a ton to work with. Love the idea of laundromats and Walmart. Definitely didn't even cross my mind. Fabulous. We definitely have registration in August, and conferences coming up. So I may put out a call for some resources and stuff that we can have out for parents. And just I'm obviously in all of our buildings and stuff, and we've got Jen and Jackie and Liz from Family First, and we've got some staff here who I know could work with us on that. So that would be absolutely fabulous. Domestic violence groups would also be great. Yeah, absolutely.
One other thing that we do for McKinney-Vento that we suggest that school districts do is a mid-year check-in. And so we gear this towards families that have become unhoused since registration, but we have some districts that send that out on the Class Dojo or Teacher Ease platform. And it's just a simple like flyer or checkbox. And it says like, has your housing situation changed since the beginning of the school year? If yes, you may benefit from some services that are offered at the school. And you could even work with maybe your homeless staff to send that in collaboration with, could you use some additional tips on stress management? We're going to have a class. If you're interested in that, please click this. And we call that a mid-year check-in, but you could absolutely combine these like housing mid-year check-ins with maybe a mental health check-in all as one send out, and they could have boxes to click like, oh, I don't need mental health services, but I need housing services, which we know a lot of times those are kind of married. But absolutely you could send like a mid-year check-in out for some of these other options if you're going to do groups and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Savannah. I'm scribbling notes as we're brainstorming, so fantastic. Kevin provided partner toolkit. Yeah, heck yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing. The more of these resources we got, the better. That's fabulous. Kevin, your microphone's off. Sorry.
Sorry.
Mm-mm.
We have a collaboration that's working on IRIS, which is a centralized intake system. And when families go into this intake system, if they indicate they need mental and behavioral health resources, and one of those, like the Locust Street is a partner on that system, it will immediately send an email to Locust Street and say, hey, this family, this is how you reach them. And then Locust Street then can choose to either reach out to them, or they can say, hey, we have a wait list, that sort of thing. If they need housing, we would say, okay, here's a referral. We're going to send that message to the housing department. Then the housing department would reach out to them. So we're hoping to have that up and running by the fall in the Greene County area, but many of our partners will be, of course, cross county lines, New Jersey, Macoupin. I think Macoupin is also considering something similar to that. So just so you know, that is hopefully going to be coming and will help. Like if Savannah wanted to be a partner in that, if she's doing an intake with a family, she could just go, okay, click, 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 and it sends the emails out to those agencies.
If you
You have a
become an
website.
IRIS network provider, definitely email me. I am a IRIS network provider in Effingham County.
Okay.
And that platform is so easy and breezy and beautiful. And yeah, like I could do an intake and see that families have needs for 6 other agencies. And instead of calling all of those agencies, it really is easy as click, 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 click. And then all those agencies get that basic family information and reach out to that family, because we know that when families are in need, they're really inundated with like, here, let me give you 50,000 things to do to better your situation. And through being helpful, we completely overload them and then they shut down. So this is a way that we put that responsibility directly on us as providers, and I'll get an email saying, hey, I got a family in today. I refer them to several different things. You're one of my referrals, and I might give it 2 days before I reach out, knowing that they were already at crisis counseling today. So they're in a hotel tonight. Maybe it's tomorrow afternoon. I let them get a good night's sleep and then I reach out. But the IRIS platform, if you have a chance to be a network provider for that, it is fantastic.
Greene County Health Department has it. So we're getting ready to stand it up. So we will definitely add you. We will be in touch.
Perfect. Thank you.
Savannah.
And this, my friends, is the beauty of mental health first responders. I love the collaboration. Thank you, everybody. Absolutely fantastic. Anything else today for the good of the group? We're going to have Megan Tyler. I guess she's not able to join us today, which is absolutely fine. We'll look forward to hopefully hosting her in the fall. Anything else? Questions? Any updates, Chaz? Anything from Lincoln Prairie you want to share?
Oh, we've got a lot going on. I'll send stuff out. We have trainings and tours and stuff this summer going on. We've got little horses coming into our place. We've got lots of stuff happening. So, yeah, if anybody wants to take a tour over the next few months, especially, get a hold of me. I'll give you a tour of the facility. I think anybody who's gone through the tour and seen it, walks away with a new understanding of kind of what our hospital does and how we treat the kids. So, yeah. that's something I definitely would encourage everybody to do at some point.
Awesome. Fantastic. Anybody else today? Well, fabulous. I appreciate everybody. I'm thinking this is probably it for this school year. It's been a fantastic school year. I appreciate all of you. Enjoy your summer, everybody. Hope you get some great time off, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody in the fall. Thank you all so much. Cheers.
Have a good summer.
You all
Thank
too. Thank
you.
you.
Becky, I can let you know when the next round of grants are coming out. You're on mute. Okay.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, I think we'd be interested in looking into that for
So
sure.
those grants came out like 2 years ago. And
Okay.
so Molly wrote for the planning grant. And so then we set up the ECEC collaboration, and then she wrote for the implementation, and it's covering the entire cost. I think it's a 3-year subscription to get it up and running.
Wow.
So we just met with them last week, and we're hoping to have it up and going in the fall.
Okay.
So
Exciting.
I know Scott County wrote for one of them too. They got a planning grant, because a lot of times you go planning and then implementation. Macoupin County, I have a community inclusion team that I'm on that at Bunker Hill that is considering might become an ECEC collaboration. And so they might write for one of the planning grants as well. But I'm not real sure. They'll be coming out. When they come out, they're super easy to write too. It's not
Yeah.
hard at all.
Yeah, let me know.
But yeah, and I think, and I told Darcy last time, I said our next target is Jersey, and bringing all Jersey together now that we have you and Darcy on here. I think you guys are some key players. Cody can be a key player for Jersey. So I think we have a good core group to kind of get that started.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, we're game for anything.
All right. And like I said,
We'll try.
I'll help with anything with that ACEs, getting that information out, and we'll do whatever we need to do from our office here.
Okay. Yeah, and I
Okay.
saw your message about Lisa. If I can't figure it out, I will reach out to her.
All three of us are pretty techie, so please reach out to us, because we can help you.
I need just a little more time to play with it. I've got grant review going on. You know how it goes.
I know. So
Thanks.
all right. Thanks, Becky. Bye.
Bye.